What's up, folks? I'm Chris, your MLB writer here at Occupy Fantasy, here with a look at the main slate on Wednesday, April 27th on DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo. We have an 8-game slate tonight that locks at the 7:05 p.m. Eastern time, so let's dive right on into it. And as always, we like to start with looking at the starting pitchers on the slate. Here on DraftKings and on FanDuel tonight, it actually feels like we've got some really good options that are reasonably priced. Not a ton of true upside aces on the board tonight, but Joe Ryan with the Minnesota Twins does look like the best option on the board. Slate high 18.7 OF index in our model. Slate high 1.37 strikeout per innings pitch projection for Ryan. Ryan has like a 1.08 strikeout per innings pitch career average thus far, so actually looks like a really good spot for him. The Detroit Tigers striking out at an above average rate against right-handed pitching like Joe Ryan, so have to like his chances here. Maybe the safest all-around pitcher on the board from a salary perspective, from a betting market perspective, a matchup perspective, Jordan Montgomery with the Yankees. Minus 250 moneyline favorite here against the Orioles. Priced pretty low across the board. So Montgomery probably the safest guy to slot into your lineups to start builds with this evening. Projects for 1.14 strikeouts per innings pitched. That might be a little low. The Orioles are still striking out at an extremely high rate, third highest in all of baseball right now. Definitely think Montgomery is going to be a really, really good play here. Shohei Ohtani with the Angels for the 900th time. He will not score hitting points tonight, and on some providers, they won't score his points live. So don't freak out when you play Shohei Ohtani and those things happen. Happens every 5 days. It's a new fun tradition here in MLB DFS to listen to that. Anyway, like Ohtani's matchup here against the Cleveland Guardians, project him for 1.2 strikeouts per inning pitched. And he's also a really big favorite here, minus 205 with some line movement in his favor. Gotta like how this slate is shaping up for Shohei Ohtani. Charlie Morton with the Braves would be one of the other places we would like to go. Basically just going right down the model here. Like how the model has it tonight. Going to jump down to Pablo Lopez with the Miami Marlins. I do think this spot might be a little undervalued by our model tonight. Lopez averaged 1.1 strikeouts per innings pitched over the last year plus. We have him at 0.94 here tonight against the Nationals. It's a little more expensive than I would like to pay for somebody like him, but I actually do think there's some possibility that he's one of the best pitchers on this slate if things break right. The Nationals are not hitting the ball very well. They're a below average, fantasy point per plate appearance offense right now to begin the year. So a really good spot for Pablo Lopez as a potential high risk pivot at the high salary area at pitcher tonight. Now for stacks, where do we want to go tonight? Our model has pretty clear preference for the Atlanta Braves and the Boston Red Sox. The Boston Red Sox actually looking like they may be a really good high-risk stack against Ross Stripling, considering that they have a pretty low implied team total in betting markets as the underdog tonight, and a reasonably low weighted on base average projection. Looking at our hitters tonight on the main slate, Rafael Devers, the best infielder on the slate. Mike Trout always at the top of the model. So looks like the Red Sox would be an interesting high-risk option here. They're facing Stripling, a pretty poor performer overall over the last year. He's allowing an elite isolated slugging and elite weighted on base average to hitters from both sides of the plate. So the Red Sox are in a good spot to succeed here. Same thing here with the Braves to a lesser degree because we don't have as large of a sample size, but Mark Leiter with the Cubs, pretty elite isolated slugging and weighted on base average allowed to hitters from both sides of the plate. So all the Braves hitters are going to be super popular. Now there's one team that actually does stand out to me, and this is something that Brian discussed on the channel in the Lineup Builder show yesterday. Check that out if you haven't yet. We're starting to look a little bit more at just who are the worst pitchers in our model. We feel very confident in the projections of our starting pitcher model. Tonight, Oakland's Paul Blackburn is at the bottom of the model here on this 8-game slate. And if you jump back over to our stacks dashboard at this point in the day, you see we have the San Francisco Giants, looks like 7th by OF index. They do have the second highest weighted on base average projection, and they have a pretty reasonable team total at 4.4 runs tonight against the Oakland Athletics. The Giants are probably not going to be super popular tonight because that team total is not exactly super high, and they're in a really good spot here against Paul Blackburn, are probably one of the best stacks on the board in high risk that isn't necessarily going to be played heavily by the field. So filtering our hitter model for the San Francisco Giants, I'm going to build a San Francisco primary stack tonight with all that in mind. I'm going to go right down the top of the model here. I'm not super worried about getting different because I don't feel as if the field is really going to do this. Now, we do consider anything above a 5 a pretty good ranking for a hitter, and anything below that fairly low. So you could certainly get away with just doing a secondary here with the top 3, Belt, Peterson, and Crawford. But I'm probably going to look to do things with Ruff and Flores as well on DraftKings. I've already plugged that in over here. You see with Joe Ryan in here, you got 4,600 per player remaining. And you can actually go ahead and plug in Jordan Montgomery here against the Orioles and still have over 3,600 per player remaining. That's plenty of salary dollars left to get something that looks really good together here for a lineup on DraftKings tonight. Over on FanDuel, I like starting with Montgomery. Leaves you 3,600 per player remaining with a San Francisco stack. You could, for example, come off of him and get up to Ryan and still have over $3,200 remaining. So that's how I'm looking at this slate right now. Obviously, things will change once we get some confirmed starting lineups in the Occupy model. So keep an eye out for the Daily Plug. We'll publish that by about 5 p.m. Eastern. And in the Daily Plug, we'll have our final picks for the day, best pitchers, best hitters, based off of the lineups that we get. If you want to talk about that up until then, please consider joining our Discord. There's a link to do so in the description below the video. And we will talk to you tomorrow for more MLB DFS.